Good morning, Pomfret. My name is Signora, and I am an 8-month postgraduate student here on the Hilltop. Like so many others, I am deeply saddened that our year was cut short and we were not able to spend the spring term together at Pomfret. I met so many great people who inspired me in so many different ways. I am extremely grateful to have spent the fall and winter terms surrounded by so many great faces. To everyone watching this, thank you. I believe in miracles. I also believe in angels. I was on a flight from Indianapolis back home to Bradley International in Hartford when I came across a figure I could never forget about. I was visiting my cousins Mark and Brenda on my mom's side the spring break of 2014. They lived in a small town just outside of Indianapolis with their 4-year-old son Benjamin. We visited a few cool and memorable places too, like the Bankers Life Fieldhouse, home court to the Indiana Pacers, Lucas Oil Stadium, home field of the Indianapolis Colts, and the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, home to the Indy 500. It was great to see my cousins on my mom's side because I rarely get to see them, and the last time I had seen them when I was just 9 years old. I was 13 years old now, and in 1 month I would be 14. At the time I was just beginning to get a sense about what religion was truly about, and how I could become closer with God. I wore a cross around my neck and went to church about every Sunday. We went to a medium-sized Baptist and Congregational church in East Lyme, Connecticut, named Flanders Baptist and Congregational Church. Up until that point, I had been an active member in their Sunday school program, helped out around the church when I could, and even went on a few retreats with the other members of the church that were close to me in age. The church was like another home to me, and there was a spiritual presence in the congregation every Sunday. I remember it was really crowded the day at that airport. After all, it was spring break, so everyone was gearing up to go everywhere. My family and I said our final goodbyes to our cousins and scanned our tickets before heading onto the tunnel to board the plane. Since that point, I have not seen them, but I hear they are doing well. We got on the plane and we were greeted by a friendly female flight attendant in her mid-30s. "Welcome on board," she said, with a warm smile. I smiled back and continued forward, scoping out to see how many people were on the plane. While doing so, I nearly hit my head on the exit sign, which I do every time I step on any plane. My family and I were one of the last families on, and it seemed like there were hundreds of eyes wanting us to sit down so we could take off. We made our way towards the back where our seats were. There were 3 seats open by the window, 1 seat open directly to the left of it, and 1 seat open in the very back, next to a man with glasses who looked like he was in his late 40s. He was holding a book or a magazine of sorts, deeply immersed in it, whatever he was reading. I told my parents I would take one for the team, thinking it was going to be awkward and uncomfortable sitting next to him for about 2.5 hours. Little did I know those 2.5 hours that followed would have a huge impact in the rest of my life. I asked the man if I could take a seat next to him just to be nice, knowing that he would say yes, of course. His eyes lit up when I asked him, and he said of course. I could tell he was funny right off the bat. The first thing he did was actually apologize to me for having to be stuck to a, quote-unquote, sweaty, annoying old guy for the next 2.5 hours. This made me laugh, and I told him it was not an issue at all. He introduced himself and shook my hand. He told me his name was Russell Mills, and his friends like to call him Rusty as a nickname. Similarly, I told him my name was Kyle, and I did not have a nickname. He began to tell me where he was from. As it turns out, he was from Indiana, visiting his cousins over break as well. He had been there for a week and was ready to go home, which for him was Anchorage, Alaska. I asked him what he was doing traveling to Connecticut if home for him was Alaska. He laughed and told me he was only on the plane because he had a layover through Connecticut. We began to talk about other things, like what my favorite subject in school was, what sports I played, and what I planned on doing for a profession down the road. We got to know each other a little more, and he asked me if I was religious. I told him that I went to church regularly. I was still a bit agnostic. I told him that I was interested in learning more about the great unknown in the future. His famous words to me were simple. "Why wait?" he told me. He told me that aside from his main job, which I do not recall, he assisted at his local church and was a deacon. He told me that he became inspired to follow Christianity in his late 20s when his dad had passed away suddenly. He told me he needs someone to turn to, someone who could always be there, someone who he could trust. He told me about the power of prayer and how it helps him get through the harsh year following his father's passing. He told me that it is important to pray for the less fortunate, those struggling with addiction, and those struggling to find food and shelter. He told me that ever since he started praying daily, his faith in God and Christianity had grown tremendously. Becoming an active member in his church community helped him overcome stress, anxiety, and depression which was normal to experience after a traumatic event like this. I was instantly fascinated. I asked him how I could grow in my own faith life. He said it was not as complicated as society makes it out to be. He said that you will always be undermined because of your religion, and possibly even judged, just like God was. But he also told me not to fear, because in Matthew 7:2, God told us to pray for those who falsify against you and do all kinds of wrongdoing because of me, as well as love your enemies and let those who be judged be judged. I asked him if he had read the whole Bible before out of curiosity. He responded with, would it make a difference if I read the whole Bible or just one passage? The insight that he gave me on that flight was inspiring to my young self, and it helped me open my eyes and my heart to God and put my love and trust in him just like Rusty did. The last thing Rusty told me before disappearing to his next flight was to pray for him and his family every day for the next week straight, and likewise he would do the same. He said this would help introduce me to the art of prayer. I told him thank you for the good talk, and good luck with the rest of his life, and he turned around never to be seen by me again. I believe that he was put on that plane through divine intervention, rather than coincidence. Since then, I've been a better person. I've chosen to love over hate, I've chosen not to judge at my best ability, and most important of all, I've chosen to respect others, because I believe that all people are deserving of respect. And lastly, since that point, I've grown my faith more and more each year. Thank you, Mr. Mills. I hope you are doing well somewhere, and I wish nothing but the best of you to your family, especially during these troubling times. And now for the shoutouts. First and foremost, thank you to my parents. I love you guys so much, and you've done so much for me. And I could never repay all the things that you've done for me. Also, thank you to my brother who's helping me film this right now. He's standing right behind the camera. I love you, little man. Second, thank you to Mr. Richards. You've done an incredible job making Pomfret a unique, warm, and welcoming school culture. I enjoyed my time here greatly on the hilltop every day. Keep holding down the fort, and again I am sorry for yelling profane things to that hockey player when we played Gunnery. I didn't realize you and Mr. Jenkins were standing right behind me. I will miss seeing Bailu at our basketball games. Third, thank you, Mr. Fisher, for allowing me to do this virtual chapel speech and making this whole thing possible. You're a great guy, and I wish I could have addressed it in front of all the smiling faces here at Pomfret, but this will just have to do. Fourth, a huge shout out to Coach Tosti, Coach Kremer, Coach McLeod, aka Dougie Buckets, and the boys varsity basketball team. You guys pushed me to go hard each day at practice and taught me what it meant to be a team player and showed me what sacrifice looks like. You guys had my back, and never forget that I will always have yours. I'll never forget our team freestyles and our trip to New York where we stayed in the hotel at the Millbrook tournament. Coach Kremer, you have and continue to kick cancer's ass. You are one of the funniest and most humble people I have ever met. God bless you and keep up the fight. You're the man. Fifth, shout out to my fellow postgraduates. You guys have been the best group of guys to be around. Each and every one of you guys helped make the transition from Xavier to Pomfret be extremely smooth. Wrench gang for life, and you guys are all a bunch of beauties. Sixth, shout out to my awesome advisor, state representative and all-around badass, Patrick Boyd. Your humor got me every time. Our last supper at Taco Bell will be a memory I cherish forever. But not as memorable as the time that we got out of my DC case for unintentional desertion on my part, where you were my representative, and after the case, I took your DoorDash order of a grade A townhouse burger and jalapeno poppers, and left you with my Moe's order. We all know how much you love Moe's. Not. Thanks for being an awesome dorm parent. Last and not least, shout out to my roommate and brother, John Kaiser. I'd had such a fun time with you as a roommate this year. We bonded over just about everything, shared a ton of laughs and deep talks late at night, and made memories that will last a lifetime. I love blasting music in the shower with you and getting noise complaints. I hope to visit Kaiser Island as soon as this whole thing dies down. Hi to everyone at home, especially Dan. You're an awesome dude. I hope everyone watching this right now is staying safe at home with your families and loved ones. A message to everyone. Stay strong and keep fighting. We are almost there. Hopefully just a few more weeks and we will be able to get back to our normal lives and society will pick up right where it left off. Pomfret, thank you for everything. I'm ready to continue my academic and athletic career next year in Scranton, the Electric City. Take care.